where do you go for personal and professional development? I know some of the answers, but you want to share, because I heard you in Pittsburgh, but you want to share some of the ways that you develop not only yourself and Lori, but your team personally and professionally.
So probably some of the simplest stuff we do is anytime we get a chance to go see Tom in FBA, all of our training team has the opportunity every year to go to the Perform Better Summit. We typically go to Providence. So they all have the opportunity to do that. We've been had exposure to things like Dale Carnegie, which is fantastic. It's one of those things you usually hate to go, but as you go through it and you get done, you go, holy cow, I'm different than I was before. I used to have a sincere dislike of speaking in front of people. And I went through Dale Carnegie, and I've had the occasion to speak in front of 5,000 people, our team, do seminars, do consulting. I was really, lucky to be with you guys a few weeks ago in Pittsburgh. But I think things like that, if there's an opportunity where someone says, hey, do you want to come present to the Secret Trainer Society? That's something you can't say no to, because I take away more than I brought. So those are the kind of the easy, simple ones. And then for us, it's now we've invested into where we do a lot of Tony Robbins stuff. Not a shill for Tony Robbins. You guys may hate Tony, whatever. Just does some really neat things. We've had the experience to go to an Unleashing the Power Within, and we just are finishing up the Tony Robbins business coaching. We've worked, and I mentioned her name before, Casey Conrad has come in and worked with our folks. I just had my region for any time is the East Coast. I just had Tom and Casey and a guy named Mike Gelfgott come in, who's a great sales coach as well. Tom did a day, Casey did a day, and Mike did a day. But anytime we get a chance to participate and bring our folks with us, we do that. Aside from that, reading books, obviously, like anybody else does. So those would be probably the big ones that we've done and that we're involved in now, and going forward.
Yeah, I used to think that Tony Robbins was the biggest cheese ball on the planet until I actually read one of his books, and it's legit shit. It really is. I mean,
him in person, he
made a believer out of me. I mean, I read a book and I'm like, okay, this is real. This guy knows what he's talking about and does some really legit things. I haven't been to any seminars. I've just read a couple of his books, and I came away a believer. So I'm a convert. I used to hate Tony Robbins. Now I think the guy's legit. I mean, you can't argue with his success. That guy prints money.
Yeah, that was one of the learnings when I left Home Depot, and we had a lot of things we were exposed to there just because we worked there and we were really blessed, but you don't realize it when you're there. And when I left Home Depot, I think I told you guys this when we were together a few weeks ago, I kind of freaked out because now I'm like the guy. Lori and I are partners in this business. How do I be the guy? And funny stories is I got, Tom, and I'm blessed to call Tom a friend and a mentor, but for years he's been kind of greasing the grooves for this with myself primarily, but with Lori as well, was what that looks like. But I immediately hired a coach. The easiest, simplest place to go was Tony Robbins. I hired a coach, and she's done wonders for me that now, and they say, you're the 5 people that you hang out the most with and whatever. And I didn't have those people to hang out with now. And I needed to be that guy for our team. So I needed to invest in me. And that's the first time I'd ever done anything like that. And then, Lori did it as well. But the investment for us and ourselves is really translated into, growth in our team and being able to share with them. And I can't, before I ever owned a gym, I was following Tom. I was going to an FBA seminar, sitting in the back with my head down. And, when your phone rings, and I don't know if I told the story, but, Tom has been just tremendous, probably for everybody, but for me as a guidepost, through my growth in this industry. I obviously a ton of business background. And, my phone rang one day, and the guy said, Tom Plummer told me to call you. I think I said, holy shit, and the phone flew across the house, and Lori looked at me like, "What the hell's going on?" And I'm like, "Tom's the guy. Tom told Tom." I'm like, I pick up the phone, and when I got done, I'm like, "That guy Tom called. Tom told him to call me." But he's been, I think, a blessing to all of us. But those are some of the things that we've done. That just being around like-minded people in this industry, however you can find it, we do it. But, Tony Robbins has been great. Even we do some of the home courses with that, Dale Carnegie, any of those seminars. And like I told you guys, we operate probably more like a training studio than we do a franchise, which is why we're probably more like the folks that were with us there in terms of how we function and operate and what our expectations are than a normal gym would be.
Yeah. I think that's so important that I find a lot of people in the fitness industry, or probably just small business owners, they get so caught up into running their business where their business is really running them instead of the other way around, that they don't take the time to step back or hire a coach. Now, this is also an industry where you're a coach. You're coaching your clients. You're coaching your team, and you don't have a coach, because I believe the same as you. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around. So pick your people carefully, So I think it's really important to have a business coach. I know I didn't know anything about business, and part of me was like, well, I don't want to hire a coach because then I'll be exposed as a fraud. But I'm really only hurting myself and my business and my team and my clients by not doing that. So I agree with you 100%. Get a coach.
I can't imagine where I would be as a leader and as a person now without that reflection from someone else who's trained to give me that feedback, or even counter what I said and by saying, "What did you say?"
Right. Exactly.
Here's how I really should have said it. So it's been extremely worthwhile. And again, anybody who has any doubts, I don't think it's a question. It's a must do, because you've got to have that other person to reflect from and to give you a counter to what your thoughts and measures are and the way you're thinking. Yeah. And it was one of the first things I did exiting my corporate career. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah. Well, even before, and that's been one of the common traits of the people on this podcast who have been really successful in this industry, is they have mentors and they have coaches. Yeah. And you even mentioned when you started out at Home Depot, you had a mentor and a coach with Mr. Blank, and then once you jumped out of the corporate world and into the fitness world, you found, even before you found Tom Plummer, and then you got your other business coach. So you've been getting that coaching all along, and that's why I think you were so successful at Home Depot and in your gyms. So you mentioned that you read books. Can you share with us the last 3 books that you read and what you got out of them?
So book that I love, kind of a simple read, but I think highly effective, was The Energy Bus by John Gordon. Anything John Gordon lends itself to team positivity, reflection on, life. I believe life works for you, not to you. We just have the responsibility to figure out sometimes. But all his books are fantastic. But that one specifically was one that I got a lot of. And I go back and reread things like that. The other one I think I showed you guys too at Secret Trainer Society was one of the things we at a Tony Robbins Business Mastery was we met a gentleman and he spoke named Keith Cunningham. Was The Road Less Stupid? And that title is not insensitive and it's not insulting. When you read the book and you get to know who Keith is, anybody who struggles with financials, understanding financials, how to make business decisions, he's got a number of books out, but that's the latest one, and that is fantastic. And then the last one, it was really written more with our brand specifically in mind, but you mentioned it a while ago, whether it's Planet or anybody else, we're all in this combating the low-cost provider. Casey Conrad's latest book is really centered around combating the low-cost provider and how they're not necessarily bad. They're at least introducing new people to our industry. And if they want a different, better experience, they would come to someone like you or us or the folks that we were sitting in that Secret Trainer Society meeting with, who will give them a better experience than if they just went to a planet. So that was her last book, and it's a great read and fantastic. Those are the last three.
What was the title of that Casey Conrad book?
Hang on one second.
Okay.
Selling Against the Low Cost Club.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
It's not a paid advertisement either, by the way, but she's a great sales coach, and that book was written for the folks who are struggling with the low cost provider. And I think people will find it a really good read and a very good study for your teams as well.